Okay, Neil. So we'll carry on talking about horses. There, you tell me that you had some sort of connection with Deano's Beeno. What was that connection?
Well, what happens when I first got involved with racing syndicates, I was a member of Elite Racing, you know, thousands and thousands of members, aren't there? And that was a great way to get in. And then we had Axum, and it was 5 horses, about 300 of us, including Deano's Beeno, bless him. And so it was great to stand in the parade ring at Cheltenham years ago with Deano's and follow his career, which was brilliant, obviously with that long walk win, for example. And then he retired to Greatwood, as you know, retraining racehorses. They do a lot of fantastic work with children as well, with learning difficulties and that whole how children get on so well with horses. And I think Greatwood's done a brilliant job. And I approached Greatwood and actually said, look, I can MC your race day at Newbury. I'll come and do that. So I started to get involved that way, promoting Greatwood, because I feel so strongly about retraining of racehorses. Deano's was down there as the star horse. Wonderful, what a great character. He was a great character in retirement as well. He sort of, he had his days when he was happier than others, or other days when he'd just say, well, I'm only allowing one other horse to come out in the field with me. That's it, really. But I sensed that, you know, he was 27, and I thought, I need to go and see him again, because I've seen him lots of times over the years, obviously at racings, but when he retired. And I went down to Greatwood in the January, and he died about 2 months later. But I wanted to see him, and I remember I went down to Marlborough, where Greatwood is based, and he came out, and I think I got hold of him. I think he was going to pull me down to the centre of Marlborough, about 3 miles away. But he was a great character, and it's a great what A.P. McCoy thought about Deano's Beeno, wasn't it? And I was really pleased I went to see him, because I think he's did so much of racing, and for me, that just shows the importance of looking after horses when they've retired. And great characters like him are bringing people to Greatwood as well, which is brilliant.
Yeah, and you're, as if you aren't already doing enough, you're also ambassador for Racing Welfare.
Yes, and what a great job Racing Welfare are doing. I mean, Dawn Goodfellow, I've got a lot of respect for Dawn. She's running a fantastic team there. And I noticed that you've got various ambassadors there talking, representing different aspects of racing. And during the whole and the ongoing COVID situation, hospitality was hit very hard, like many other industries. And it's been a real struggle for people, because they've had to think about new careers, and people have had to go off and get different jobs in some cases. And some of them struggled because they were still wanting to stay in hospitality. And it was very difficult. And I went to Dawn and said, look, I would really like to be the voice of the hospitality industry, because we're an important, it's an important function. Away from race days, you've got conferencing and events. It's an important revenue stream. Hospitality is very important. I don't think people sometimes realise the scale of numbers involved and all the background involved here. So I went to Dawn about that. So I'm representing that part of Racing Welfare, and I'm keen in future times to get more chefs involved as well, that we can do more things to raise money for Racing Welfare. So I end up doing lots of the videos. I present on some of the racing events as well. We did a virtual tasting as well, wine tasting, so we raised some money that way. But it was great fun doing that, mixed in with a bit of a Cheltenham Festival preview as well, which is also a good laugh. And I think Racing Welfare, they've done so much with all these great initiatives, and it's a big shout, isn't it? It's bringing everybody together, which is really important as well.
Yeah, and if people weren't envious enough of what you do, you're also an ambassador for Prosecco, and you own a wine PR company.
Yeah, so our wine PR company, it's Louise, my wife, and I, really, and a couple of other people that work for us. But Louise does a great job, and getting coverage for the producers that she works with and has worked with for a long time, since she set up the company in 2008. So we're sort of two arms of that, of PR, and also with my presenting side as well. So it's really interesting, and we've got some great clients who we've worked with for a long time, actually. And yes, in sort of presenting wise, so I'm the UK, it sounds very, love this job title as well. I'm the UK ambassador for the Prosecco DOC Consortium. So that's a designated area where we can produce our Prosecco DOC wines. So I've been the UK ambassador for quite some time now. So I present around the country. I present at food and drink festivals. I work with chefs as well, and like Daniela Cortellini, so we do a lot of work together there at events, and present at Taste of London. So, and I travel around the country talking about Prosecco and promoting Prosecco overall as the UK ambassador of the consortium. So we have a number of producers that are members and involved. We show their different wines. And it's really, and we also want to get people, when they can feel comfortable, travelling out to Prosecco land, actually, Simon. So there you go. Bubbles, very popular. And it's been a great story, you know.
Yeah, talking of stories, leads me nicely on to your love of racing books. I see you've got some props there. Just give us tell us about some of these.
Well, I've always been, you know, we don't have it in a hardback, but I've got loads of copies of Timeform because it's something that's always been really, I loved it when they did that. And I used to, again, about research as well for me. A great aid memoir for me, the Timeform handles there. But also, I have to say, I couldn't find this book, but Steve Smith-Eccles, when he did his book about a diary of a jump jockey for a season, that's one of my favourite reads, actually.
Turf Account.
Yes, that's it, Turf Account, thank you. Great read. And I'd also like to give a shout out to Jack Berry, because I thought his diaries were hilarious and brilliant. And I realised how hard Jack has worked and done so much. And I'd also like to shout out for a friend of mine, Sean McGee. What great company Sean McGee is. And he knows Lester Piggott very well, and he's done some great books about Lester Piggott. And this is a really good book in praise of famous horses as well. So I'm a big racing book fan, and I reread them. So I love all of that. So that's very important to me as well.
Yeah, I'm sure people can, they wouldn't be at all surprised that you're a racing book fan. They might be surprised to learn that you're a bit of a punk rocker. You must be the most unlikely punk rocker I've
I'm the most unlikely punk rocker, yeah. People always look completely surprised about this, you know. And the other thing is that people can't really work out is, did you ever have enough hair to be a punk rocker? I'm very envious of you, Simon. But I grew, you know, I was a bit of a country punk, really, growing up in Stroud in Gloucestershire. But I've been getting into music since I was 10 or 11, and I used to listen to John Peel's show, you know, 10 o'clock at night, whatever time it was. And I remember I read about punk, and then I heard 3 short songs, and I thought, they were about a minute and a half long, and I thought, this is punk, I absolutely love it. So I was a bit country punk, really, but yeah, I used to have lots of wavy hair, so, you know, I think I put too much gel in, really.
But so what were your favourite bands then? Give us some punk.
Well, I didn't really, I mean, everybody always talks about the Clash, the Sex Pistols, but I was sort of into some other bands, really, that there's a band called Subway Sect. I think they did a few singles. I know Vic Goddard from Subway Sect, actually, and he's a big racing fan, so he still comes racing. So I was really into things like Subway Sect, and there was a band actually from the States called Perubu, which did a fantastic debut album called Non-Alignment Pact. It was a brilliant debut album there. So I loved all of that, and I loved some of the really short, energetic stuff as well. I loved also Susie and the Banshees. I thought they were absolutely brilliant. I went to see Susie and the Banshees, and then moving on a bit out of punk a little bit was coming to bands like Joy Division, for example, and The Cure.
You told me that you're an active gig goer. So I mean, I can't see you down at the front of a business gig or something like that. I mean, what do the dyed-in-the-wool, nearly pensioner punk rockers think when you roll up in your tweeds?
Well, I think they think, who's this bloke? I did go and see a band. There's a band actually, and they're not really. They're a band called Sophia, and this guy called Robin Proper Shepherd. I follow him on Twitter. You know, you can have connections with musicians now, can't you? But I did go to see a gig in London a few years ago, and I really liked this band, Sophia, and I was the only person not wearing a long black coat. I think I was there in some, you know, and I just looked completely different. And afterwards he said, I bet you were the only person drinking wine at my gig. Everybody else is drinking lager. But it's just, but I get down in the mosh pit, Simon. I do it, you know. You got to.
So if you got like a gig going alter ego and wear all the clobber and nobody from the racecourse would recognise you, or have you actually seen anybody from the racecourse and been surprised?
Yeah, they would be surprised. I mean, I did go to a gig where, I mean, I like my bright shirts, as you can tell, and I did go to a gig recently, and I was wearing lots of bright stuff, and one of the band, I talked to one, I love going to chat to the bands, especially some of the smaller bands, you know, they're trying to get a label. Well, they might have done one EP. And these guys said to me, could you be our accountant, please? So I obviously didn't look that radical. So, but I love to get it. I love small venues especially. I think it's great. I love seeing bands in those sort of 400-500 people venues, really. Those are the sort of places I like. But I keep a connection with bands as well. And actually there are 2 or 3 bands like the Nightingales, where Robert Lloyd, the lead singer, is a big horse racing fan, for example. So they love to come racing. So we keep a link like that as well. So we do all of that. Actually, I think
I was going to say, I interviewed Graham Sharp in a record shop, but you've actually brought some records with you, which is a first.
Yeah, well, we've got the Nightingales here with Stuart Lee, the comedian. So Stuart and Robert Lloyd, lead singer of the Nightingales, worked together on King Rocker. Brilliant movie to go and see. I'm in there somewhere in that movie. And
Pogoing?
Yeah, well, sort of. I look like I've been to a one-day conference, actually. I don't know. That's in one of the trailers. But they've got, I brought this in because they've got 10 Bob Each Way as one of the song titles here. Brilliant, I love it, 10 Bob Each Way. Love that. Great guys, actually. Great to see them and talk to them. But in actual fact, Vic Goddard from the Subway Sect, last time I saw him at Sandown, he was asking me about the 5 furlong draw bias at Sandown. So there you go, he knows his stuff, actually.
Okay, so we've talked about your horse racing, you're presenting, the wine promoter. I mean, what ambitions have you got left in any of your spheres that you're sort of into? Or have you got any burning ambition to do something, or even something extra?
I clearly love my job, and I still want to keep presenting at race meetings of all levels, really, because I love going to the races. If I'm not working, I'll just go to a meeting. I love it, big or small courses. I think it's really important to go and do that as well, by the way, to be outside, be in the pre-parade ring. But certainly my racing manager, Ellie and I, we want to continue to grow my racing manager, and I think the concept's great, and there's a particular, people are getting, I like it when people just get to a point in their life and they think, well, actually, I want to be involved in that now. That suits my family, that's satisfying. Certainly for me, and from the hospitality point of view, to continue to broadcast and present, because it's great to be at the meetings, but it's also great the way, in terms of food and how that's all developing, and the drinks side as well. And we've got to showcase different things as well. That's always changed at all levels, and I want to keep doing all that. And for me as well, it's I really enjoy doing my Unibet column, and I love looking. I'm very analytical. So I just love doing all of that. So bringing all those components together with my love of racehorses as well, and horses anyway. And I think over time I will do more work in racing welfare, what I'm doing for them, but also in terms of horses when they're retired as well. That's something I'd like to give more time to as well. But I want to just keep doing all the things I'm doing now. And I haven't even, all the other wine presenting I'm doing. I love all the Prosecco work, Simon. So I'm a very happy guy, really. And I don't really want to change anything right now. As time goes on, then you will look to do, I want to continue doing all the columns, but you'll look to do maybe more of that charity work as well. That's what I would like to do.
Okay, now as a final, I'm going to be really mean. So somebody says, right, Neil, you're having far too much fun, son. You've got to choose one.
Oh,
horse racing, wine, or punk rock.
Oh man,
which one would you have to cast the other two into oblivion, and you can just got the one for the rest of your life. Which one would it be?
Oh wow.
Sorry about that.
That's a horrible question, Simon. That's terrible. I feel like it's one of those desert island disc questions. Well, I think because of all the parts that I can include in this, I'd have to say horse racing, because that allows me to include pretty much everything I do, apart from punk rock, actually. But I'd say horse racing.
Excellent. Well, that's a very diplomatic note to end on, Neil. Neil Phillips, thank you very much.
Pleasure, Simon. Great to be on.